Uh, what else? Ano ba bang for accountants? Well, ano bang advice that I would have given myself? Values at the start. Okay. I think it's one of the things that uh, that I think it's one of the things that I've been my people. I think I think what I think where I am now. I think one of the things that my manager saw in me was that, and my manager currently is saying about me, is that I'm very coachable, and I think that's one of the things that a lot of intelligent people, a lot of very promising individuals lack. It's being coachable. Sometimes we get too confident about our skills. We get too confident about what we know that we don't listen too much. We speak more than we are supposed to listen. And I think you should be confident about your skills, but you also should be humble enough to know that there's still much to learn. Even in my personal career, even though I'm currently a senior tax manager, I don't think this is success. I don't think I've accomplished too much because there's still a lot more to be learned. I think in the general scheme of things, I'm still beginning, and to have that realization, to know that there's a lot more to learn, to be coachable, to accept that, I think it's very important because that's how you learn. When you're coachable, when you accept feedback, um, constructive criticism, that's the way you move forward. That's the way you develop yourself. And when you listen to people who know more, and you start to have those mentoring relationships, that's when you start to push your career forward. And I think it's one of the things that many people do not have. To have that ability, even at any stage of your career, whether it's starting, whether you're at your 50s, retiring, there's still a lot to learn, and from people who are above you or below you. So listen to their stories, listen to their feedback, what they say about you, and improve yourself based on that.
Sir, how do you think can accountants make a change in the country?
That's well, in two fronts. One, I think in the general scheme of things, I think what one of your, I think your president is saying, that hero accountants. I think that's very apt. We look at OFWs as heroes. I think they're heroes,
Have
but
you watched the video?
I've watched some of the videos. So I think the accountants currently right now are the center of the BPO revolution, and it's bringing a lot of development in the country. As you would see, a lot of condominiums are being built. There's a lot of development in the country, and that's fueled, I think, a lot. I'm not an economist, but I think that's a lot fueled by the shared service industry, by the BPO industry, and at the center of that are the finance professionals, mostly the accountants, and we're driving that. We're bringing foreign investments in the country. We're earning a lot, because the salary range for companies have begun to rise because of a lot of companies are competing for talent. So I think that's one front wherein we really help the country. We bring in foreign investments. Um, we work as accountants with really good salaries, and we pay taxes as employees. So I think that helps the country a lot. I think what on the other space, I'm a very big advocate of transparency and ethics. That's why, especially being a tax accountant, I'm a very big advocate of paying our taxes correctly, and it's in a lot of fronts that doesn't happen as it should. So I think it's one of the things that we really should work on, and at the heart of that are the accountants. The accountants who should say no whenever there are unethical practices, whenever there are things that are really not right, that are being done in front of them. I think those are the places where we should say no, and we should we should fight for what's right, even at the cost of our careers at times, because that's what para dun yung pagsumpa natin eh. Para dun, that's the oath of the profession, to make sure that people are that everything is accounted for properly, and not 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 going to where it's not supposed to be.
So you're really tax compliant na, sir?
Yes, for my company, we really believe in tax compliance. So,
Kasi recently I just finished writing a book about paying the right taxes na. Tapos, sir, what can you say about the accountants who do not pay the right taxes? Random question.
mahirap to, pero sige. I understand it. At the end of the day, I understand what's the motivation. I know people who, because the system is broken, and the way I see it, at when everyone is doing it at all fronts, you have no choice. I understand it. I just think that it starts one step at a time. If we don't change, if we subscribe to the system, then we feed it. I understand it because the businesses want to pay lower taxes. The government agencies are not, magkakaproblema pa ako dito. But, sige. The businesses don't want to pay higher taxes. The government is, or some of the people in the government are also in it. So, as an accountant, you have no choice but to give in to what your client demands, especially if you're in the public practice. But I think there's space for ethically paying your taxes. I think there are still Filipinos who want to pay their taxes correctly, and I think there's a market for it. And if we push for it, I think there's space for it. It's difficult, but if we don't change it, then who will? We are at the heart of it. So I think we should start saying.
Wait, sir, kayo yung you mentioned na nasendan na kayo ng candidate form
Sa 50.
for the 50 stories.
Mm-hmm.
Kasi yung nasend yung yung nasend yung candidate form from the
Parehas din siya eh. May dagdag pa, so sinend ko na. Sorry.
Sige, sir. So, what do you do daily to ensure your growth and development?
So I think one of the important things that we do as an accountant is, to be a good accountant, you need to know how your business works, because basically you work on information and you basically tell the story of your business, the business that you're servicing. And I think as an accountant, it's very important for us to know how our business works. And for people who are for a small company, it's very easy to know how your business works, how your business makes money. But for a company as big as mine, it's not that easy. So what I do daily is to make sure that I read news articles about the oil industry, the energy industry, know what's happening, and to be informed and to be well informed about what's happening in the industry that I'm working in. And I think that's very important for you, because even though sometimes it feels like the news information that you're reading feels so far from what you're doing. For example, I'm doing tax. It may be too far to read on why crude prices are soaring or falling. At some point in time, those random pieces of information will connect, and it will lead you to make better, more informed decisions. So, at the end of the day, it's being abreast with what you do, with the business that you are servicing. You need to make sure that you keep informed with what's happening. Also, you need to make sure that, for example, for me, I took up CGMA, CIMA, and it's one of the things that I made sure that I'm still up to date with the accounting profession. So I think it's very important that we are conscious. We don't rest on just because we have the CPA license. That's enough. There's still a lot of skills to be learned. There's a wide variety of just in the private sector. You could be in tax, you could be in credit, you could be in payables. There's so much to learn out there that there's no excuse for you not to educate yourself.
What do you consider as your turning point in your career?
My turning point in my career, I think it was when I joined my current company. When I was preparing tax returns. It was a turning point for me because it was very difficult. It was U.S. operations. We were preparing tax returns for U.S. operations, and it was not easy because it's U.S. taxation. It was never taught in college. You had to learn it from the ground up. It was difficult. The operations were really large, and you have to beat your deadlines on a monthly basis. So, on a monthly basis, you need to rush in. It's millions of dollars in the line. If you don't file it on time, the company will pay millions of dollars in taxes and in penalties. And that difficulty, but at the end of it, there's a sense of satisfaction that yes, I filed it, and I know what I am doing to help my company, for my company, and I think that was a turning point for me that it I was very passionate about doing my job because there's a very great sense of satisfaction of overcoming that difficulty at the end of the month, and that's when I fell in love with tax. So it was very satisfying. There's a sense of satisfaction at the end of every month of filing the tax return, even though it's very difficult, and knowing that one, you're helping your company to be tax compliant, and also two, you're also helping the economy into which you're paying your taxes correctly. So, eh, it's a sense of satisfaction that I feel in my current job. I've never been in other roles yet, but I think tax is very tax is very nice in terms of that.
How would you describe a successful person?
How do I describe a successful person? I think at the end of the day, a successful person is someone who lays into bed and is happy about where he is in life. And I think every time I lay to bed next to my wife, in our bed, I'm very content with where we are. I think in terms of finances, I think we're very stable. I'm very content with my career. I'm very happy with my family right now. So I think being happy with that, I think there are a lot of people who are very, well, have accomplished a lot, but they still don't feel that sense of contentment. I think being successful is is having that contentment, and I think for me, I'm very content with with the way my life turned out. Past tense again, but I think it's very important for you to be content. So for me, that means when at the end of the day, when I sleep next to my wife, I'm very happy with where I am, with how my family is doing. So I think that's success for me.
So, sir, being content and being happy with what you have now, and with your current position nga po in Shell, what do you think is next? What is there next for you?
I think even though I'm very happy and content with my position, there's still a lot to do and to learn. In terms of leadership, I think that's something that I'm still starting, even though I've been in it for a few years now. There's so much to learn. So that's where I'm exploring. I'm also trying to explore being a more well-rounded finance professional, because basically my resume only says tax. But I love tax, but maybe I should try other areas of finance, like for example, credits, payables. So look, accounting, financial reporting. So looking at the other areas and see, okay, now I'm okay as a tax professional, but there are other areas of accounting which I haven't explored yet. So I think that's something that I'm looking into, possibly shifting within the company. And my current company is quite large enough to accommodate that.
Sorry, sir. For now.
If po kayo dito.
Actually, that was for Yes, sir. Let's continue. What's